Hi, good morning. I'm Jen, parent advocate with the Florida Center's FASD team.
And I'm Amy Weinberger, founder of the Lean on Me project.
And we are back to continue from episode 1, where we are starting to talk about different children, different approach that might be needed when we're working with our school students and the teachers and just all of the staff that we've got supporting our kiddos in the education system. Amy, we went over 1, 2, and 3 last week. Can you tell us what 4 and 5 are going to be?
Yes. So 4 is don't blame or criticize, right? So imagine being a young kid back in your elementary or middle school years, and you're getting blamed for things that you're doing and how terrible that feels and how it really doesn't rectify anything. So the same thing holds true when we're in school meetings. And I'll get into that in a second, a little bit more. And then number 5 is understand the school district's position. Because when we're only coming in with our position and we don't understand what's on the other side, you're just not going to, come together. You're always going to be apart, and we're trying to get to yes.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that it's really important because when you and I were chatting just a minute ago, we don't always have to like or agree with processes or the way that the districts might have, things set up, or maybe the law is established to guide things for the district. But we do have to understand that there's a process. And so to be cordial and going along with and still giving feedback and, where we can put in our own 2 cents to the way that works, right?
Yes, but make it 5 cents, not just 2 cents, okay?
Sounds good.
I like to have confidence, right? And 2 cents is not enough, right? 5 cents isn't either, but you want to put that whole $1 million effort in so you can get the yes. That's always the bottom line. So when you hear the words don't blame or criticize, we shift to what kind of feedback can we provide, right? And the feedback doesn't have to be harsh. And the feedback can be just that, feedback with facts or feedback with something that can be acknowledged and proven, a behavior, yes, this happened, how was it handled? These are the ways that we try at home. And, let's hear some comparative notes. So I think it's really important to understand what keeps us as parents or caregivers awake at night. So Jen, to you, what has been keeping you awake at night?
So we had a conversation with a school counselor a couple weeks ago, and there was a question that was asked, and I really felt that it was an inappropriate question with the way that the timing was, the situation kind of surrounding it. I was happy to answer the question. It was just really the wrong time, wrong place kind of situation. And so, man, I was prepared. I was prepared to send that email and share my 5 and 7 cents that day. But, I did the harder thing. And instead, I ended up in a conversation with that school staff member. And, I prefaced it with, I know I'm somebody who sometimes it's not what I say, but how I say things. And that wasn't where I was coming from. And I was trying to, just share my feedback on the way that conversation went down. And it ended up being a really great conversation. I got some good feedback in return from that school staff member. So making the choice not to be a keyboard warrior, as I refer to them, that, it's easy to type things up and have all of those feelings. But to remember that, they're a person too, and that they're following their processes. It ended up being a great conversation, and I'm really glad that that's the way that it worked. It was tough in the beginning, but I'm glad that it went the way that it did.
So that reminds me, Jen, first, I'm really glad that you held back and that you slept on it and that you considered all your feelings and you had your feelings. You didn't deny your feelings, which is really important. And then you had the stamina and the courage and the skill set to go forth and say, hey, we have to readdress this. These are some of the reasons why. And what it reminds me of is when I call it, you pause think parent. Right. And it comes in a lot of varieties. It could be, you count to 10 and then you say something, right? But I always, when I'm thinking about parenting or IEP meetings, I'm thinking about what can I say that's going to actually be useful and not put me in a hole or have that team degrade my child in some way because they're mad at me. Feelings are true. Feelings are real, but that they are just that they pass. Right? And what doesn't pass is how we help the child. So by doing what you did and having your feelings and then being able to really organize and go in and do the hard conversation, then, kudos to you. And by the way, we can all do hard things.
Absolutely. Yeah. I have a philosophy. I can do anything for a short period of time. Thank goodness that conversation was short.
Well said. Well said. So then number 5 would be understanding the school district's position. Now, this is not something that you might have, thought of, not you, but, people listening. What are their perceptions? How does a school actually see the problem? What are the school's interests? What does the school want? Usually we just go in with our needs and our wants and how we see the problem, which is all very important, but there's 2 sides to every coin, right? And so knowing and understanding both sides will also get you to yes. So I think you have a story about that.
Oh, absolutely. We have lots of stories, don't we, Amy? We had another situation with my kiddo, and when we were looking at some options for him, placement-wise, we had this extreme, and then we had this extreme. And through conversation and understanding processes that were available and options through the district, we kind of came to the understanding that neither one of these was a really great best placement. And we were able to work out a compromise. We were able to work out a solution where this side was giving a little bit and this side was giving a little bit. And it gave a new opportunity to check and see if this was a good placement for my kiddo. And again, through conversation and feedback and understanding where the school was coming from and asking the question, help me understand. That was probably one of the best questions I asked in that meeting. And I'm really glad that I did.
Yeah, I'm really glad you did too, because I actually sat on that meeting with you. And what was so interesting is that administrator had not actually noticed that there were only 2 extremes, or what we perceived as 2 extremes as the advocate and as the parent. And we brought that to their attention and we said, hey, where's that middle ground? Can that exist? And, once we popped that question, perspective shifted enough to decide that maybe we do have that middle ground. So that doesn't mean that in that meeting, you and I weren't steaming. I mean, there was smoke coming out of our ears. Do you remember that? Like in our nose? I mean, I felt all steamy.
Oh, yes.
Perspiring and all the things. But, when I took that breath, and I'm like, they've never had this question posed in this way. So they're just stuck in, oh, it's this or this, as opposed to, hey, there is something else. And once we got to that, it really became an exercise in practicing how to get to yes. And we got to yes on behalf of your son.
We did. Yeah, it was a great experience too. And I was really glad that I understood the background piece of that, because it helped me come to the table more prepared and more willing to see it from the school's perspective and understand not just that they were guiding the main part of the process, but that, I could ask for that compromise. So
yes.
It's been such a great learning experience trying to find ways to continue partnering with my kiddos' schools.
Absolutely. So the 5 big guidelines: know what you want, create a win-win solution for problems, protect that parent relationship, feedback, not criticize, and understand the school district's position. Those are the big 5. I almost did the big 10, but those are the big 5 that can help guide to incredibly successful school meetings.
Yeah. So stay tuned. Amy, when we come back, we're going to be diving into another topic. Maybe we can talk about the difference in IEPs and 504s, or, you never know what we'll have next time. So
absolutely. Absolutely. One thing I'd like to focus on next time is maybe present levels and how important they are in an IEP.
Absolutely. That's a wonderful place. So present levels, then, you guys, knowing and understanding what they are and how they're incorporated in IEPs and 504s and all of the good school meetings. So we will see you guys next month on different children, different approach. You guys have a great day.
It's okay. Bye.